if people will join in, I'll let them in. So, same notebook I'll use today as well. Just a recap. कल हमने डिस्कस किया what is NLP, natural language processing क्या होता है, then what are the benefits, like use cases क्या क्या है, and then why do we even have natural language processing systems as a separate entity. तो क्या क्या problems होते हैं while we deal with building something that is relevant for language, yeah, chatbots. Any system that deals with language has the component of NLP involved. So languages में there are certain problems like ambiguity होता है, then languages में the contextual understanding, the semantic meaning is important. So the word says something else, but it actually means something else. So all these things are there. Then the resolution, let's say, of pronoun, and then of course bias is also one such factor that affects the systems that we are building. उसके बाद I told you that there are some relevant libraries that we use. Just a second. So like NLT के use करते हैं हम लोग, Spacey use करते हैं, Jensen use करते हैं. We'll see where and why we use these libraries. Applications and all, like these are just the images, and then I told you the pipeline of natural language processing. So initially we start with the data collection, then we do some text cleaning because जो भी raw data हम collect करते हैं, that is obviously not in the format that can be directly given to the model. Then we do some processing on top of it. If required, we also do feature engineering. And then finally, we proceed with the model building. The most important part here, while we are working with NLP, is this whole phase of text cleaning pre-processing. Because जैसा data आप model को दोगे, it plays an important role, how good or bad your model is. And then you come to the next part, that is model building. So we started with the text pre-processing with something like lower casing. सबसे पहले क्या करेंगे, like I told you, all these words जहाँ पे hello लिखा हुआ है, given that these alphabets have ASCII values, a capital H is different than the small h. So उनका meaning अलग हो जाता है and the model interprets it differently. So given that these three words actually mean the same, what we should always do is whenever we have got some textual data, we should convert it into, let's say, lowercase, because casing is not relevant when we talk about building model, right? Dusra, one more thing, like in mostly I'll use the term corpus because that is what is used. जो भी हम text data देते हैं उसको हम in technical language we call it as text corpus or just corpus. That is the naming convention that is actually used. Then I told you about how do we remove punctuation marks. So there is something called as text.translate function जो हम use करते हैं. Let's say if I want to remove punctuation, because again like अगर मुझे meaning infer करना है, then punctuation is not that important, right? So ये extra characters हैं and जितने extra characters होंगे it is going to take more computation resource and more computation time to process such data. Then I also talked about how do we remove special characters and let's say numbers if they're not relevant. So this is also required because let's say if I'm talking about tweets that are done on some social media platform, their comments that are made. So there can be a lot of emojis, there can be a lot of white spaces, there can be a lot of unnecessary characters जो हमारे data whatever modeling we are doing उसमें relevant नहीं होंगे. So we need to remove them as well. Then white space normalization, like how do we deal with white spaces? And these are some like basic text cleaning steps. Now based upon your data और भी steps हो सकते हैं which we can like we will see in when we talk about projects, but इतने fixed है, like this is what you will be doing sure. Once we are done with the text cleaning, we move towards data pre-processing. एंड डेटा प्री प्रोसेसिंग का जो पहला स्टेप है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज टोकनाइजेशन. व्हाट इज टोकनाइजेशन? हमारे पास बहुत बड़ा सा टेक्स्ट कॉर्पस है. मैं क्या करूंगी, आई ब्रेक इट डाउन इनटू स्मॉलर चंक्स. तो स्मॉलर चंक्स में ब्रेक डाउन करने के लिए फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल व्हाट आई कैन डू इज, हम पैराग्राफ को या जो भी मेरा पूरा टेक्स्ट कॉर्पस है उसको सेंटेंसेस में ब्रेक डाउन करते हैं. सो आई जस्ट यूज दिस एनएलटीके लाइब्रेरी एंड उसमें टोकनाइजेशन, सेंटेंस टोकनाइजेशन इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज सेंट टोकनाइज. So we just call this function send tokenized, give my text, and this is how I get these sentences. उसके बाद once we are done with the sentence tokenization, let's say we have got all the sentences, we further break it down into words, and these words are we get these words by implementing word tokenization. So हम word tokenization implement करते हैं and it's the same process, just that function name change हो गया to word underscore tokenize. यहाँ तक किसी को कुछ डाउट है? दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड यस्टरडे की क्लास में, द नोट्स दैट आई शेयर. इज दिस क्लियर टू एवरीवन? ठीक है, आई मूव फॉरवर्ड. तो अब हमने देख लिया सेंटेंस टोकनाइजेशन एंड वर्ड टोकनाइजेशन. देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज स्टॉप वर्ड्स. किसी को पता है स्टॉप वर्ड्स का मतलब क्या होता है? एनी आइडिया? So the words that we use, a, the, and, this, that, all these like obvious words जो text में बहुत normally आते हैं, that may not be relevant while we do any sort of processing. These are called as stop words. So these are like some common words. If I'm to give the definition, stop words are basically common words that don't have any significant meaning. ठीक है, these are the stop words. तो अब मुझे करना क्या होता है, like let's say if I'm talking about a sentence. So let's say there is a sentence and I say that the weather is very nice today. Now in this whole sentence अगर मुझे इसका sentiment समझना है, it's just that the weather is good, right? Now, do I need is and the to infer the meaning of what the sentence is conveying? Not at all, right? Because अगर मेरे पास the और is नहीं भी होगा, then also I'll understand that weather is nice. That is what the sentence means. So what I can do is, अब this is a very small sentence. जब आप data के साथ deal करते हो, let's say if you're building any sort of NLP systems, chatbots हो गया या classification, text classification system या analysis system, तो बहुत ज़्यादा data होता है. जब बहुत ज़्यादा data होता है तो उसमें ये वाले words भी बहुत ज़्यादा use होते हैं. So what we can do is we can avoid or we usually remove these words and these words are called as stop words. अब इसको remove करते कैसे? So again for doing that I will use NLTK. तो सबसे पहले I'll just write import NLTK and NLTK में we need to download something called as stop words. अब इसमें ना हर एक लैंग्वेज के लिए देयर आर मल्टीपल लैंग्वेजेस. तो इंग्लिश में इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज के स्टॉप वर्ड्स होते हैं, हिंदी में हिंदी के हो सकते हैं, फ्रेंच में फ्रेंच के होंगे, जर्मन में जर्मन के होंगे. So I need to basically tell which language stop words do I want to remove. So for example, I can show you. First, let the cell run and I'll show you. Where I'll print those stop words for you. So print करने के लिए we just use nltk.corpus dot stop words dot words and then I given the language, कौन से language के मुझे stop words चाहिए. So I want for English and now I have this list of stop words. So these are the stop words, like जो unnecessary word हो सकते हैं हमारे लिए. So this is the whole list. सबको दिख रहा है, right? सो अब मुझे क्या करना है, मेरा जो टेक्स्ट कॉर्पस है दैट इज माय सेंटेंस. फ्रॉम दिस सेंटेंस आई वांट टू रिमूव द स्टॉप वर्ड्स, एंड दिस इज वन ऑफ द स्टेप्स दैट वी डू एज द पार्ट ऑफ डेटा text processing. So how will I do this? First of all, I will tokenize this sentence. अगर पैराग्राफ होता तो I would have done implemented sentence tokenization, maybe done word tokenization या directly word tokenization भी. So I have this text and then I'll just say, let's say, I'll just say words and I can call word underscore tokenize and I can give in my sentence here. Word tokenize import करना पड़ेगा. Just a second. I need to run this. So now that we have imported it, मैं यहाँ पे word tokenize call करूँगी. Now I'll have these words. So I can show you. These are the words. अब मुझे इस list से stop words हटाने हैं. I don't want stop words, I want to filter out them. So we can simply do it by using list comprehension. तो सबसे पहली चीज हम क्या करेंगे, I'll show you it in a single line. आप उसको break down करके भी कर सकते हो, but I just want to tell you single line का format because that is what आप coding notebooks पढ़ोगे तो you will face or see. So let's say I'm creating a list called as filtered words जो मेरा final output होगा. अब इस list में मुझे सारे words चाहिए except the stop words. So the first step before we even do this filtering, मैं पहले सबको lower case में convert करूंगी. So what I'm going to do is I am saying I want word for each word in words. So there is a list called as words. उस words वाली list से मुझे कुछ words चाहिए. अब कौन से words चाहिए? I need to define the condition. उसके लिए I'm going to first of all write if the word dot lower. I'll convert that word into lower character. And I want those words that are not the part of the stop words list जो मैंने create किया था. So I'll just say those words that are not in stop words dot words. मैंने stop words import किया था. I can just simply write that. I can write it this way या फिर दूसरा मैंने already list ये create करके रखा हुआ है stop words का. तो मैं एक काम करती हूँ, I just use this list and I'll say कि इस list में वो words नहीं होने चाहिए. So those words are just not in this list. Is this line clear to everyone or should I repeat it once? हमें सारे words चाहिए from the words list. पहले मैं lower case convert करी हूँ and I'm just saying कि that word should not be in the stop words list. So once I run this and now I can show you the filtered words. This is list comprehension. So now I have just three words: weather, nice, today, and I'm able to understand what the sentence means. It's a positive thing or a positive sentiment. Okay, so this is stop word removal, one of the text pre-processing that we do. Should I move ahead? Okay. So the next part that we do is it is called as text normalization. This is important. Text normalization क्या होता है and क्यों करते हैं? So basically text normalization एक process है जहाँ पे we reduce the words. We can have words like let's say there is a word called as running, ran, run, runs, all these sort of words. इसका जो core meaning है that is run, right? These are just some different forms of tenses. ing is like the continuous form of tense. This is simple present tense. This is the past tense. But actually meaning uska run hai. So I can have word like history, historical, एंड देन देयर कैन बी सेवरल वर्ड्स, मतलब अलग अलग फॉर्मेट हो गए, कहीं पे आईएनजी ऐड हो गया, कहीं पे एल ऐड हो गया, लाइक डिफरेंट फॉर्मेट्स. So again, the core meaning here is history. So this is what text normalization does. I can have many words within my text corpus, and I want to actually reduce those words into their root form. This is the root form of that word. So why do we do this again? Like our goal is to minimize the computation time and the resource consumption. So we implement text normalization, and text normalization के अंदर we do the stop words removal as well. Then we also do this root word extraction, and this root word extraction is done through, there are two techniques to do it. So the two techniques to implement text normalization, one is stemming and the second is lemmatization. And this is an interview question. Ki, what is the difference between stemming and lemmatization? It is very oftenly asked in interviews. अगर आपने कुछ भी NLP based project डाला है, 90% of the time probably they are going to ask you as a fresher this question. So stemming and lemmatization is technique. Then again, like in terms of text normalization, we also do the stop words removal हो गया, हमारा जो पंचुएशन रिमूवल हो गया, जो हम लोग ऑलरेडी देख चुके हैं. So all these things are also performed. So if I'm to define text normalization, basically it's the process of what can I say, like standardizing the words so that uh, they are easy for NLP systems to process. So that is text normalization, similar to what we do, like we do data normalization as well to ease out the process of model building. And then within that, we have some certain techniques. So stemming and lemmatization is what I'm going to talk about next. So what is stemming? What does it mean? तो किसी ने सुना है अच्छा इन टेक्निक्स के बारे में पहले कभी, या किसी को बताओ? ओके, आई गेस नहीं सुना है. ठीक है. तो स्टेमिंग इज अ प्रोसेस. इसमें हम करते क्या है, वी ट्राई टू reduce words to their root form. Okay, now what do I mean by this? I'll just show you directly with an example. Now, how do we implement it? Now, there are various kinds of stemming. तो हम जो use करेंगे, we use Porter stemmer for it. I'll just write the piece of code. आप उसको जब हम code लिखेंगे, it will be very clear. So I'll just say from NLTK dot stem import Porter stemmer. There are different kinds of stemmers as well, तो आप explore कर सकते हो आराम से, but this is what is commonly used. फिर मैं पोर्टर स्टेमर का ऑब्जेक्ट इनिशियलाइज करूंगी. So I'll just initialize the object of porter stemmer, and I can call it as PS, and then let's say I have a word list. So I'll just use running, I'll just use runs, ran, run, and I'm also adding one more word called as runner. ठीक है, तो मैंने यहाँ बहुत सारे words use किए. Now, what I want to do is I want to implement stemming. Stemming, basically, I want to reduce all these words to their basic root form. And those root forms are defined in this Porter stemmer. So what I'll do is I'll just say ps dot stem, and I will say I want basically the root word word for each word in this words list. So I'll just say implement ps dot stem for word in words, and I'll put this in a list. Make list में डालूंगी. And finally, as an output, I will get a list. I'll call it as stemmed words list. Is what I can call. I can print it. Is the syntax of the code clear to everyone? पहली चीज. We are using list comprehension and बहुत heavily use होता है list comprehension in NLP. So I hope आपको ये syntax समझने में दिक्कत नहीं आ रही हो. This is just that we have a function. We are implementing that function for word. For each word, I'm calling this function. And how will I call it for each word? I'll say for word in the words list. इतना कोड सबको समझ आ गया? Okay. अगर किसी को कुछ डाउट हो तो पूछ लेना. Okay, now if I run this, now see this. Uh, Running is reduced to run. Runs is reduced to run. Ran past tense method is the root or the stem form. You can call it as root form or stem form, kuch bhi. Run is same as run. Runner means the person who does the running. So it's an altogether different word. So it just shows you runner. Okay. So let me try more words. I can just try history. Um, Historical. Porter stemmer is one such function that is used, or भी stemmer functions use होते हैं. I don't remember the names as of now. So आप देख सकते हो, like there are different kinds of stemmers that you can actually use. Let me actually navigate to NLTK stem. There is no wall stemmer, हाँ. Library can show you there. या तो NLTK.stem. तो सी यहाँ पे बहुत सारे स्टेमर हैं, तो हमने पोर्टर स्टेमर यूज किया. देयर इज स्नोबॉल स्टेमर आल्सो, यू कैन ट्राई. देन फॉर डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस लाइक फ्रेंच के लिए देयर इज समथिंग डिफरेंट, इंग्लिश के लिए समथिंग डिफरेंट. इफ आई गो टू पोर्टर स्टेमर probably it will state. So it uses porter stemming algorithm to perform the stemming. So you can read about it basically, but this is what is commonly used. तो आपको उसमें definition मिल जाएगा, and then what it is based upon is also you'll get. We don't need to jump into those details because वो required नहीं है at this stage for you all to know. जितना required है, that is what I'll cover. Then okay, let me use these words. I don't remember any more words related to this. So here you can see, like यहाँ पे this is there's one thing to notice, that it distorts the word itself. Like history का जो root है, historical का root है, तो history doesn't means anything. So this is a drawback of stemming. Stemming में क्या होता है? We convert these into root words, of course. Yeah, we implement stemming. But then कहीं कहीं कुछ words के लिए the meaning gets distorted completely. Like it happened in this case. जो run वाला case था उसमें ऐसा नहीं हुआ, but इस case में हुआ ऐसा. So to overcome this disadvantage of stemming, lemmatization was introduced. Meanwhile, I'll just try a few more words. Let's say good, uh, better, best. Uh, just taking some random words. Let me add more goodness. So again, like goodness got reduced to good. So you can like just check, try out some random words, and we'll understand how this works. So as I said, stemming का एक drawback था that a lot of times, given that we are using some words, for example, this situation, यहाँ पे जो actual word है, उसका meaning ही lost हो गया because of stemming. Why? Because उसने जो root word दिया, that is not having any meaning here. His word doesn't means anything. So to overcome this, we had lemmatization. So this is the difference between stemming and lemmatization. So lemmatization is another technique. And lemmatization में होता क्या है? That it converts the words into their base or dictionary form. तो ये root form में convert करता है. Of course it will do it. But while it does this, it also considers द ग्रामेटिकल मीनिंग। तो जो मीनिंग होता है उस वर्ड का लॉस्ट नहीं होता है। सो हाउ कैन आई ऑब्जर्व दिस? इट इज सिंपल, मैं सेम कोड कॉपी करूंगी इधर। आई जस्ट कॉपी दिस पीस ऑफ कोड, ठीक है। आई पेस्ट इट हियर। नाउ इंस्टेड ऑफ इम्प्लीमेंटिंग porter stemmer, I'll use word net lematizer, and then I'll initialize word net lematizer the class, and I'll just call it as uh, lm lematizer के लिए। I'll just change the word, and it is again like the same piece of code that we are using. I'll just run this word net limit। okay, lematize होगा यहाँ पे, system नहीं होगा। lematizer जब हम use करते हैं, so we write lematize, and I can just run this now। uh, इसको run करने के लिए like wordnet के लिए I need to download this wordnet package from NLTK। I'll just download it, package wordnet। once I've downloaded it, I think it will work। yeah. See, अब इसने क्या किया, history is kept intact to history here in this case, historical is kept intact to historical, because जो उसका base word है या dictionary में grammatical meaning जो preserve करता है, it is the same thing। that is why now I'll try with the running वाला example जो हमने इधर लिया था। so we'll see how it works in this case। I'll just copy it and then I'll run it। so see, running it, since it is in continuous form, उसने running ही रखा है, because this is the action that is like it's happening right now। runs is reduced to run, run वाला run पे ही है, ran is same as ran, and then runner is same as runner। so here we don't lose the grammatical meaning of the word while we implement lemmatization। is this clear to everyone यहाँ तक? ठीक है ना। इंटरव्यू में पूछते क्या है that what is the difference between stemming and lemmatization, and when should we use what, कौन से सिचुएशन में क्या यूज करना चाहिए। so can you guys think and try answering this question? take your time and सोच के मुझे बताओ कौन से सिचुएशन में we can use stemming and lemmatization। ओके, किसी ने तो थिंकिंग वाला इमोजी यूज किया। एक्यूरेसी जहाँ पे चाहिए वहां लेमेटाइजेशन। ओके, sort of correct partially। दिव्यांशु you can speak। गलती से अनम्यूट हुआ। ओके, जब हम लोग चैटबॉट से बात करते हैं राइट, तो मुझे क्या चाहिए होता है कि चैटबॉट should understand that each sentence properly with the meaning, right? In that case, of course we are going to use lemmatization, because let's say if I'm writing I am running, this is different than I'm saying run, right? Because this is a continuous action that is taking place। any form of AI जहाँ पे we are having conversation with that system, so conversational systems जो भी हैं या chatbots वगैरह, that is where we use lemmatization। but let's say if I'm doing a simple, I'm using a search engine and मैं बहुत simple search कर रही हूँ, I'm just let's say मैं Google पे कुछ type किया and I'm just searching it। अब वहां पे I can make some mistakes, या फिर I don't need the contextual meaning of that particular word, because मैं सिर्फ information retrieve करूंगी. I would want कि मान लो if I'm finding top 10 websites for learning NLP, तो मुझे वो website relevant data चाहिए. Now the meaning of that sentence that I'm typing, it can be with some meaning, or we just you can give a whole sentence, या फिर आप उसको कुछ 3 या 4 word में भी लिख सकते हो. That is when you should be using stemming. आई होप सो दिस इज क्लियर. देन ऐसे स्पैम डिटेक्शन हो गया या स्पैम क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम्स में, तो वहां पे मेरे लिए द वर्ड लेट्स से स्पैम में मोस्टली ये होगा, लेट्स से किसी ने आपको लॉटरी विन भेजा या ऑफर्स भेजा, तो इफ इट इज रिटन ऑफर, ऑफर्ड, ऑफरिंग एनीथिंग, it is it should all be treated in the similar manner. I don't care if it is continuous, or if it is a past form of the tense, or if it is present. The word offer, just the root word, is important for me in that case. So I can safely implement stemming, because like stemming will use lesser resources also. Lemmatization is a bit heavy because वो grammatical meaning preserve करके रखता है. So उस केस में I don't need to go for lemmatization. But let's say if I'm going for sentiment analysis system, तो वहां पे the meaning of the word plays an important role. The context is important. जैसे machine translation system हो गया, I'm translating from one language to the other. वहां पे भी मेरे लिए बहुत important है context. मुझे grammar preserve करना पड़ेगा, meaning preserve करना पड़ेगा. Then I'll use lemmatization. So is the difference between both these things clear? Okay. So I hope when you are asked this question anytime in the interview, you will be able to answer it. Okay. Now there are few more concepts that I need to tell you. So in NLP, may we also do few things. One such thing is okay. This is another nice diagram that popped up at the right time. तो टोकनाइजेशन हमने देख लिया, स्टॉप वर्ड रिमूवल हमने देख लिया, टेक्स्ट नॉर्मलाइजेशन भी हमने देख लिया इधर, ये वाला पार्ट. नेक्स्ट इज दीज टू कॉन्सेप्ट्स, पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच टैगिंग एंड नेम्ड एंटिटी रिकॉग्निशन. तो पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच पता है सबको, पढ़ा होगा ऑफ कोर्स इंग्लिश में.
Yes, ma'am.
सो देयर आर लाइक टोटल 8 to 9 आई थिंक पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच कुछ रहते हैं, राइट? So a lot of time we need systems where let's say I need to tag parts of speech. So what can be the parts of speech? It can be noun, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, all these things. So kai baar when I'm working on some projects, maybe I need to tag these parts of speech, or I need to identify the grammatical role of each word. So we call it as parts of speech tagging, wherein we try to identify grammatical role of each word. So this is parts of speech tagging, and how do we implement it? Again, I would prefer telling you through some example, and इसके लिए we use Spacey, by the way. We'll use Spacey library. अच्छा, आप लोग को कंपाइलर डिजाइन पढ़ाया गया है?
No, ma'am. Next time में पढ़ेंगे.
अच्छा, नेक्स्ट टाइम में पढ़ोगे, तो उसमें ना आप लोग एक सिंटैक्स पार्सर पढ़ोगे, पार्ट वहाँ पे. तो यू विल फाइंड, मतलब जो मैं बता रही हूँ यहाँ पे, सो लाइक सिंटैक्टिकल पार्सिंग यू विल स्टडी इन फ्यूचर. तो वी ट्राई टू फॉर्म अ ट्री. वहाँ पे इट्स लाइक नॉट रेलेवेंट टू द पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच ऑफ कोर्स, बट देन काइंड ऑफ सिमिलर. सो इन केस यू वुड हैव स्टडीड, लाइक जैसे हमने पैटर्न मैचिंग कल पढ़ा था, सो इट वाज the analogy was similar to what you do in theory of automata, your TOC, theory of computation वाले subject में. So I was just trying to establish link. अगर आप लोग पढ़ोगे, let me search Spacey. I'll just show you how this looks like. Spacey is used in industry, actually, industrial strength natural language processing system. So It's a simple, यही एक code piece भी दिया हुआ है, so I can just copy paste it. It's very simple to write this piece of code and you can run it. So what are the key features? Like it supports 75 plus languages. It has got some trained pipelines for 25 languages. आप word vectors अभी मैं आगे बताऊंगी क्या होते हैं. Then it has support for PyTorch and TensorFlow both. There's certain several components that we do in natural language processing system. Like parts of speech tagging is one thing, dependency parsing is another, sentence segmentation is another, text classification is another. ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं. So you can use it. अब यहाँ पे ना in this library, like you can also make end-to-end workflows. So you can just explore this documentation of Spacey later on, आराम से. I'll just move towards the coding notebook and then we'll take a small example and we'll see कि Spacey work कैसे करता है. ठीक है? So first of all, I need to import Spacey. Import करने के लिए I need to first of all run pip install Spacey. First, I'll install it and then I will import it. So I'll import next using import spacey and जब मैं import करती हूँ मुझे क्या करना पड़ेगा English language का जो मॉडल है वो लोड करना पड़ेगा. So I need to tell load the English language model. I'll just create a pipeline sort of, मैं एक NLP variable define करूँगी and I'll just say spacey dot load and I'm saying I want English. It says core, English core model, and there is a term called as web. Web matlab this whole language model is actually trained on data from the internet. So any internet resource was used for training it, and then I used an abbreviation underscore SM. SM means small. So if I'm to write it, it is basically English core web small. SALG होता है which is large, तो हम small use करेंगे for now because हम बहुत simple sentences से देख रहे हैं just for an understanding. You can use large because फिर वो again like space ज़्यादा लेगा, time consuming as well. So this is how I just load this spacey English language model. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a sample text. I'll just write a text and I'm going to say, let's say, despite the heavy rain, the children played um, happily outside the park. I have some random text. You can take any sentence. And what I need to do is I want to process this text using NLP. So what I'll do is I'll just write, I'll call this NLP function and then I'll give in my text here and it just applies this NLP pipeline to this text, whatever we are passing in. यहाँ पे आपको दिख रहा होगा, apply the pipeline to some text. And then I'll get my, you can say like process text या फिर I'll just write it as doc. So this line is basically processing the text with Spacey. What I'll do is I'll first print the original text. मैं पहले original जो मेरा text है उसको print करूँगी. And then what I want is I want to print the POS tagging. So उसके लिए मैं यहाँ पे एक loop run करूँगी. I'll say for token. Or you can say for word and doc, or I'll just use token because वो बहुत common language है. In this particular doc, what I want is I want जो text है particular. So जब हम pipeline apply करते हैं, it just creates some representations. So I'll say token dot text. मुझे print करना है. I'll use f strings for it. I want token dot text and उसके against मुझे क्या चाहिए token dot उसका parts of speech क्या है वो मुझे चाहिए. I can just simply print it this way. And I can run this now. So you will see that against every word, it assigns some uh, parts of speech. For example, heavy के लिए adjective, rain के लिए noun, comma के लिए it's punctuation, DET से I think I don't remember the full form. The
Determinant.
हाँ, and then children again noun हो गया. Then outside, I don't remember. This is adverb. ADP क्या है? I forgot. तो ऐसे despite I think conjunction है, डिटर्मिनेंट नहीं होगा, डिटरमाइनर होगा. सो DD देख लेना एक बारी. Like these are the, this is how like it basically breaks down. So कौन सा लाइन एरर शो कर रहा है? सेकंड core web it should not show error. आपने सेम लिखा है, क्या एरर आ रही है अनन्या? I mean you can speak as well, like कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. If you have background noise then also it's fine.
Can't find model and core web small. It does not seem to be a Python package or a valid path.
आपने बेसिक, अच्छा आप लोकली कर रहे हो?
Yes, ma'am.
See, I'll show you. जब आप लोकली करते हो तो आपको ये एक्सप्लिसिटली डाउनलोड करना पड़ता है EN कोर वेब एस एम. तो ये लाइन मैं कॉपी पेस्ट करके देती हूँ. दिस यू नीड टू रन इट एक्सप्लिसिटली पहले एंड देन रन द फाइल. So it is a separate, like you need to download it separately. इसी वजह से एरर आ रहा है. Just do it once and then just let me know if it works. बाकी सबके लिए रन हो रहा है ये piece of code. Ananya, is it working now for you?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
हाँ.
Ma'am, why do we do POS tagging? What's
Uh,
the need?
again like वो project base पे depending upon the requirement. So अभी हम named entity recognition देखेंगे वहाँ पे to understand the structure of the sentence, या any use case wherein I want to decode the grammatical importance of each and every word is where we'll be using parts of speech tagging. अगर आप लोग maybe if we use, let's say, systems that remove PII, your personally identifiable information. So वहाँ पे I need to infer what is a noun, what is the information related to, let's say, place or mail ID या सब चीजें. So maybe वहाँ पे we need to first of all identify all the nouns and then we'll maybe map it to the spaces or the names, some specific things, and then we can actually redact those information from the sensitive documents. So ऐसे सब systems में use होता है. Okay, so next what we are going to study is the named entity recognition, and this is basically used to identify, अगर मान लो कोई sentence है, ठीक है, and you want to know on, let's say if there's a huge paragraph या text corpus and आपको identify करना है उसमें key entities क्या थी, or you want to identify named entities. Now what do I mean by named entities? Maybe the place, maybe the name, maybe the organization, any such information. You don't have the time to read the entire paragraph. So ऐसा कुछ information मुझे चाहिए from the text. To extract that, I use named entity recognition. And when we talk about these systems, let's say POS, tagging या फिर named entity recognition, अभी हम लोग बहुत simple सा example देख रहे हैं, तो it might not seem that relevant. But when we actually deal with data, it is like huge amount of data, जो we as humans would not be able to make some sense out of it. So we use these systems to understand actually the key meaning from those entire text corpus in lesser amount of time. So to implement this, again, same thing हम spacey use करेंगे. I'll just take a sentence. So I'll say that Apple released a new iPhone model uh, in India last week. मान लो मैंने ऐसा assumption लिया. Now here Apple isn't a fruit, it is an organization. So that's why I took this and I'll just what do is I'll just create a doc. I'll use this NLP pipeline. मैंने उसको pipeline दिया and now I want to extract the key entities. So for doing that, I'll just run for entity in doc and doc में there is something called as ENTS. जैसे ही मैं ये pipeline create करती हूँ, it just has this POs, parts of speech वाला information and then it has got some doc.ents. Basically, it's an if I show you the type of doc, move it to the next line. So it's a spacey doc format and इसमें बहुत सारे like चीजें होती हैं बहुत सारा pre-processing apply हो चुका होता है. So what I want is I want the named entities to be extracted and how am I going to do is I'll just say for entities in doc.ents I'll just print the text and I am going to print the label here. Okay, I'll just print the label. Now here, if you notice, it extracted the key entities, which is Apple as an organization. iPhone उसने गलत infer किया है, not an organization. So there can be errors, of course. India is some geographical location, so इसलिए उसने GP कुछ abbreviation use किया है. And then last week is something that gives me relevancy with the date. So it just mapped it to the entity date. This is the named entity recognition. So just let me know if it works for everyone.
Please could you repeat, ma'am?
Um, we have a text. Okay. Now this is the text here. Apple released a new iPhone model in India last week. What I want is, let's say if I have a corpus, I want the key entities to be extracted, like the place, or I don't have the time to read the whole text. Yeah, मुझे उतना time नहीं है that I am able to make some sense out of it. So I want the key information to be listed. How can I do that? It's the same process. मैं spacey use करूँगी. I'll just write import spacey, then load encode websm, and then I'll create this pipeline. So I've applied this text processing pipeline, NLP, and then I gave in my text with it. I have a doc. Now this doc, say I'll just say that extract doc.ents. In fact, I can show you इसका output. You will be able to understand. It will be a dictionary doc.ents. So it has these terms. These are the key entities जो उसने recognize किया है. So Apple iPhone India last week. This is the key entities that it has extracted. Now you'll see this released or in all these new, these words are removed out. These are not the part of my entities. Now from these entities, what I want is the text of this entity as well as the label. What label named entity recognition any कौन सा label assign किया है. So this is what I get. So Apple, it is mapped to an organization. iPhone, it has like wrongly in this case mapped to organization. iPhone is not an organization. India is mapped to some geographical location, so GPs, some abbreviation related to that. Last week is something that gives me an idea about the timeline. So it mapped it to the named entity called as date. I hope so now it is making sense. Okay. So just to summarize, we have actually completed the text pre-processing wala phase. So text cleaning or pre-processing. So removing special characters, lower casing, then punctuation, stop words removal, tokenization, text normalization through stemming or lemmatization, parts of speech and named entity recognition. This is all what we do based upon the use case जो भी आप deal करते हो. ठीक है? So next, should I move to next topic? ठीक है. Are you willing to अभी attend the class like if I take half an hour more या फिर मैं end कर दूँ?
Ma'am, actually we also have a meeting of that internship.
अच्छा कितने बजे से है?
मैम वो है तो 9:30 से, बट उसका थोड़ा वर्क अभी भी पेंडिंग है हम लोगों का, तो उसे कंप्लीट करना है.
ओके ठीक है अभी ओके लेट मी डू वन थिंग आई जस्ट गिव यू एन इंट्रोडक्शन थोड़ा सा to the topic and then we
Yes, ma'am.
complete in the next class. Does that work for everyone? ठीक है. So we talk about feature engineering और feature engineering में the most important thing मतलब अभी आपने देख लिया कि text को मैंने pre-process करके clean कैसे कर लिया. Now the next step that we need to do is basically converting this text into numbers. ठीक है. Why do we need to do it? Simple, like computer cannot understand anything apart from numbers. So मुझे textual data को numbers में represent करना होता है. And उसका सबसे simple जो technique है, that is one hot encoding. ये सबको पता ही है one hot encoding. ठीक है? There are more techniques that we'll study, which is bag of words. We'll study word to vec. Uh, such techniques are there. I'll just continue in the next class. But मैं one hot encoding एक बार बता देती हूँ. It's simple in terms of code as well. So the cat sat on the mat. Let's say it is a sentence. So what it does is कि the cat sat. This is the sentence. So जहाँ पे the word is present तो वहाँ पे one and बाकी सब जगह पे zero. Cat word cat पे one बाकी सब जगह पे zero. What is there? Sat पे one, बाकी सब जगह पे zero. And implementing this is very easy. One hot encoding is basically like converting the categorical data into numerical format. Same thing. So it's a three-step process. सबसे पहला हम क्या करते हैं? I'll just wrap up in 5 minutes. I'll just put the heading one hot encoding and a three-step process. So सबसे पहले what we do is we build a vocabulary. We assign an index to each word. So basically हम हर एक word को एक position देते हैं. ठीक है? I'll tell you with an example and then we create a vector. So let me tell you through an example. इसको कैसे करते हैं? So मान लो मेरे पास vocabulary है इस case में. So I have a simple vocabulary. I'll just show you in terms of code. I'll just write from, I need to import scikit-learn by the way. So I'll just write from scikit-learn dot preprocessing, import one hot encoder, and I'll just use import numpy as np. And I'm going to define a vocabulary. Vocabulary क्या होता है? The key words. Vocabulary is nothing but just a list of words. So I'll just say words is equals to, I just convert, let's say my vocabulary is the same, I'll take the same example. The cat sat. I need to convert these into numbers. So I'll just say words, I'll just write np dot array and I'll convert it into a numerical representation. I'll give in this words list. Just write it here. The cat and then sat. And I'll just write, I want to reshape it into -1, comma 1, basically convert it into a column vector. Once I do this, I am going to initialize and fit one hot encoder. So same thing that we used to do before. मैं बस वो words को numbers numpy array में convert कर रही हूँ, and then I'm going to call it OHE. I'll define one hot encoder, and I'll just fit. I'll just call one hot encoder dot fit my words here in this, and I can just print the words. I'll just store it as encoded words. I'll run this cell and I can show you the encoded words. Which dot fit I have used. Yeah, okay. अगर मैं सिर्फ fit use करती हूँ, so it will give me this representation. I can do one thing. I can use fit underscore transform, या फिर मैं अलग से transform call कर सकती हूँ, and then I can just show you the representation. So one more thing, it says compressed sparse matrix. So just a second, like few tweaks that we need to do. Initially, it's a dense representation. Uh, Okay, initially it's a sparse representation, one hot encoder जब हम use करते हैं. So what I will set here is, I'll say जो मेरा sparse output है मैं उसको false define कर दूंगी. You can explore this library थोड़ा सा. तो I would want to say that जो sparse output है उसको false set कर दो. And then instead of just calling fit, I will call transform as well, ताकि मैं वो array देख पाऊँ कि क्या transformation apply हुआ है words पे. If I don't do it, I can call transform function explicitly. Let me show you by doing till here. So मैंने sparse output से false text किया है. मुझे ये message आ रहा है like compressed sparse row format ये है, and I no, it cannot show right now. Now if I show you transform, it gives me 001 for the word the. अगर मैं cat के लिए check करूँ, so it should give me 100, और sat के लिए it will be 010. So this is how we implement this simple one hot encoding. I'll keep it till here. ठीक है? I hope so this is clear. कुछ doubt तो नहीं है इसमें यहाँ तक किसी को? ठीक है. Next class I'll let you know कब देते.
मैम कोई प्री प्रोसेसिंग में इसके नीड क्या है?
आप नंबर वर्ड्स को कैसे समझाओगे मॉडल को? कैन मॉडल अंडरस्टैंड वर्ड्स? दे कैन नॉट. दे नीड टू बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू नंबर्स, राइट? तो अगर मैं मान लो regression मॉडल बिल्ड कर रही हूँ फॉर सम टेक्स्ट क्लासिफिकेशन, देन हाउ एम आई गोइंग टू गिव इन दी वर्ड्स देयर?
ओके मैम, हमें लगता है आपने स्टार्टिंग में बताया था कि ये बाइनरी कन्वर्जन खुद से कर देगा.
नहीं, वी नीड टू कन्वर्ट दोज वर्ड्स इनटू नंबर्स. अब उसके अलग अलग तरीके होते हैं. वन हॉट एनकोडिंग इज वन सच मेथड दैट आई डिस्कस्ड. अब इसके डिसएडवांटेजेस हैं. लाइक जितना वोकैबुलरी, दिस इज अ वेरी स्मॉल वोकैबुलरी. इमेजिन 500 वर्ड्स या 1000 वर्ड्स या लैक्स में वोकैबुलरी है, then it will have this kind of matrix and it will be very difficult to represent that information. Okay, so to overcome that, there was yeah, that is why, like, this is the very basic way of converting text into numbers that I've discussed. इसको ओवरकम करने के देयर वाज बैग ऑफ वर्ड्स, देन देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड अ सी continuous bag of words, then word to wake, then there is globe, there is fast text, and now what we use is something it is called as word embeddings. We use RNNs to create word embeddings. So that I'll tell you slowly बहुत सारा information हो जाएगा नहीं तो, but this is the most simple way of converting any words or text data into numbers that we can give to the model. सो जितना आप लोग चैट जीपीटी और सब एलएलएम से बात करते हो, सारा डेटा जो भी आप देते हो वो ब्रोकन डाउन होता है टोकन्स में, एंड वो टोकन्स को नंबर्स में कन्वर्ट किया जाता है. सो कैन यू इमेजिन द प्रोसेस दैट हैपेंस बिहाइंड. देन नेक्स्ट वर्ड प्रेडिक्शन होता है, एंड देन इट टेल्स यू द आउटपुट. दिस इज ऑल व्हाट हैपेंस बिहाइंड द सीन्स. ओके कूल. यहाँ तक किसी को कुछ डाउट आज की क्लास में? थोड़ा सा टाइम लगेगा एनएलपी में बिकॉज मैं हैंड्स ऑन करवा रही हूँ, और प्रोजेक्ट्स में भी आई गिव यू वॉक थ्रू, बिकॉज एक बार आपको ये सब समझ आ गया प्रोजेक्ट्स बहुत सिंपल होंगे समझने के लिए. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट क्लास आई विल टेल यू यार, आई डोंट हैव माय स्केड्यूल फिक्स्ड, नीड टू बैलेंस आउट एवरीथिंग. विल जस्ट लेट यू नो, आई विल ट्राई टू कीप इट टुमारो, सो वो मोमेंटम ब्रेक नाउ. ठीक है. ओके, थैंक यू एवरीवन.
थैंक यू.
Bye, ma'am.